session, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
I know.
The giving thing, and so I was like, oh.
Oh, yeah. 6:00. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. Great. All right, any announcements or communications? Do we have Councilmember Goldberg on the line, or is that working?
He's coordinating with Councilmember Torrent
Okay.
to teleconference in.
Here
Okay.
comes
So-
Councilmember Torrent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great. Okay. Aside from that, other announcements or communications? Hello. I believe Councilmember Bordeaux is on vacation right now.
Yeah.
Good. Is there an update about teleconferencing with Councilmember Goldberg?
I can call him
Okay,
and put him on speaker.
that works. Okay, just so he can participate. Councilmember Goldberg was out with COVID recently, so.
Hello, I was just calling you and I'll put you on speaker now.
All right. Any other announcements or communications?
No.
All right. Adoption of the agenda of the day. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move that we adopt the agenda of the day.
Okay, second.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, public comment.
So I will go ahead and say real quick, I found previously when we've had teleconferencing with other council members that often it takes reaching out to the phone to make sure that they're participating in the vote and discussions and things
Okay.
like that. I would just make that comment.
Great, that was a question. So Councilmember Goldberg will be participating in the discussion and voting, or, we're not in a voting meeting, so I don't.
Right, just
okay,
adopting
just
the agenda,
adopting
for
things.
example.
Okay, thank you.
Can I give the phone to you, Mr. Dagenhart, to communicate with, or is that, should I do that?
I think he'll be able to hear the discussion better probably up here, but I'm not sure. What do you?
Jeff, can you hear us?
Okay.
I can hear fine, thanks.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. All right, public comment. 3 minutes each. Don't all rush the podium at once. All right, great, thank you. And state your name and your address, and we'll have a, thanks.
Hi, my name is Skylar Goldenberg. I live at 4543 Park Drive, and I live directly across from the new pickleball court. I have a prepared statement I'd like to read. Firstly, the renovations are beautiful, and we're thrilled to have a long-needed new fence. That being said, our neighbor and ourselves are concerned with a few key issues, mainly the noise, illegal parking, and consequent enforcement of the rules. With regards to the noise, we've heard a lot of negative talk about living immediately adjacent to a pickleball court. We are, however, withholding judgment until we experience it for ourselves. We work from home, and this is truly a very important factor for us. We're also concerned about parking at the pickleball court, both on Park and Lakeshore Drives. There are currently no signs in the immediate area, and when people play tennis, as they have in the past, they're consistently parked at our house on Lakeshore and on Park. It's created a very dangerous situation at the corner, which we personally have heard about in the form of complaints directed at us. Further, there are 2 fire hydrants on either side of the court. Parking, we feel, needs to be strictly enforced by our police department. We currently have consistent illegal parking from the courts to the entrance of the wetlands, occasionally for hours at a time. We also request that a sign be established and placed on the fence of the pickleball court which states the rules, and also a rule should be added which asks that all participants be respectful to the neighbors regarding the noise. We've had to ask people to be respectful in the past, i.e. screaming at the top of their lungs while we were attempting to work. Unsuccessfully, basically, we got a whatever response. Finally, we're concerned about enforcement of the rules and would like to know what procedures are in place to ensure that the enforcement is actively done. We firmly believe it's not our responsibility to enforce the rules. We would like a phone number in which we can call to report a disturbance in which we received a prompt response. We constantly don't want to have to call the non-emergency number and just wait. We're thrilled that the people have a place to enjoy outdoor fun. Truly, we haven't had the best luck with noise, parking, and enforcement So we'll wait to see how it all plays out. We're a bit hesitant and concerned at the same time. Finally, we moved next to a pickleball. We moved next to a tennis court, not a pickleball court. We never had issues with people playing tennis, and just hope that this remains the case. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. All right. Thank you.
Calvin Bergamy, 4568 Dahlia. Just to address a few things that Skylar was talking about, in my experience of playing pickleball, most pickleball courts that I play on, people have to park well away from the courts. I'm not sure about enforcement and how that's going to work, other than it's something immediate once the courts do open, or if they open, they've been chained for a while, that we direct the police to have more focus on that area. And I think it just takes a couple of times of warning or ticketing people before they would move on. The other thing about the noise, that's been brought up at many occasions. I will say that I played last summer, and several other people and I played. We drew lines on the Oak Court, and we played several weeks. I don't know if we disturbed you or not during those times or not. So we did play. I don't know whether you get two sides playing pickleball, but I appreciate what Skylar was saying, that they would take a wait-and-see attitude, and then we can adjust rules as they're needed, you know, to have quiet times maybe in the morning or the afternoon or whatever we decide, that signs are prominent, that there's no parking there, because that can be a real problem, and it has been in the past, just people, because there's no sign, there's never been a sign there. Let's see, any other things? Yeah, trash cans, I think there should be there as well for people that are playing, and then picked up. And then we stay in constant contact with the neighbors to find out how you guys are doing and what we can do to mitigate noise and make it less intrusive and more fun for everybody.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add one. I really wasn't planning on talking, but I had heard that there was a new pickleball itself that is low noise or noiseless, and I'm wondering if, I mean, I'd be happy to research that and see if that's the case, and maybe we could enforce noiseless pickleballs on the court.
Great. Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes. And please say your name and your address.
Christina Chapel, 4543 Park Drive. We didn't hear much of the pickleball playing. It's the people getting super excited and screaming and yelling and throwing things. I mean, it can get really crazy sometimes. So that's a big concern of ours, is just proper behavior in public around neighbors who are working. So it's not so much, so we're hopeful that it will stay that way, but again, it's mostly just kind of getting people to be respectful.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to new business. So the first item on here is the employee group health insurance renewal. Landmark Insurance, the proposal. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and City Council members. We do have a presentation that I'm going to turn over to Mr. Dagenhart as wearing his personnel officer hat this evening to introduce the presenter. But just to set this up for you, this is an annual process that we go through for renewal of health insurance, premiums and benefits for employees, and we've got comparable, or I should say, proposals that you'll be able to compare in the presentation. The effective year, or the beginning of the year, is October 1, so this would be an action item that would come back for your second meeting, even though we'd be happy to get or to hear maybe what your thoughts are after hearing the presentation.
All right, we're going to get a little bold. I'm going to attempt to have a Teams meeting with a representative from Landmark who wanted to be here tonight but was unable to, and we're going to do a remote version of that presentation.
Okay.
So what may need to happen, and she'll be on here shortly. Let's see if it popped up here. I think you'll be able to hear her, but she might not be able to hear you.
Okay.
So have to work questions through each other here. Okay. Let's see if this works. Sarah, can you hear me?
Looks like she might be
I
muted.
think I'm muted. Hey, Sarah, can you hear me?
Okay.
This is about as awkward as I expected it to be.
Oh.
Check 1, 2, Sarah. It offers me to mute participant, but I don't want to do that. Let me drop her a chat real quick. Bear with me. Oh. I can hear her. I think we're on multiple chats here. Okay, hold on. We're getting there. Jesus. I'm on 2 calls at once.
It's the obligatory tech glitch of
Right.
online meetings.
Okay, Sarah, what about now? What about now? Is that better? She can see me. Oh, you know what? I'll bet. Let's see, something's going off my microphone privacy.
Now he's
You're
wearing
fine.
his information technology officer hat. And if all else fails, Ned and I can make the presentation. She schooled us pretty good.
Great.
So not too much pressure, Ned, on yourself.
I appreciate it. I'll try one more thing.
I also had to do the presentation to employees today. We had an employee meeting, and Ned was at his city clerk training.
All right, one more time, Sarah. Can you hear me? I can hear you very faintly.
All we need to do is for,
Maybe if I try logging out, coming back in.
as long as we can hear her.
Yeah.
Okay. market for the city, and we went to several different carriers. When we do that year to year with cities, because you are a city, certain carriers decline the SIC code, the industry code. So we did get several declines based upon that. And then we also did get some declines just based upon any types of claims that are out there. They determined that the risk was too high for them to carry, you guys, okay? So with that being said, we were able to get a quote from Angle and compare it to Anthem. The number of carriers are narrowing down in the smaller group field because we have a smaller population for y'all. We are limited. So that's what we're seeing here is your current plan compared to Angle. Angle is a newer carrier on the marketplace. They're a third-party administrator. They use the Aetna network, okay? Nationwide network of doctors there. The benefits are a little bit better compared to the Anthem plan and lesser in premiums. I will tell you that this, to me, just from what I see out here on the marketplace, is these types of carriers where you use a third-party administrator. You stay there 1 year, next year you get a high renewal, and then you're back trying to find another carrier to bring down those costs. Okay, so you would pick Angle just because you financially, you just want to save the dollars here for the calendar, for the next 12 months of the plan. And this starts in October if you choose to move to Angle. The savings would be roughly about $4,000 a year. I personally don't think that it's worth it if you were to change carriers. And again, this just depends on your budget and what y'all have on your end. Just because if we move to Angle and then we go back to Anthem, Anthem may not, they might have a little bit of a sour feeling just because we changed carriers. And now we're coming back. So you may not get this type of renewal where it's a 4%, 10% renewal is what I'm getting at. Usually year to year, if you stay with the same carriers, the carriers will be more lenient on negotiating and negotiate more for y'all. And that's what we saw this year with you guys. Anthem, they originally offered about 10% renewal for y'all, and they negotiated it down to a 4% renewal last minute. They did this last week. Okay. So with that being said, if you, looking at the premiums only, Angle would have some cost savings for the next 12 months. Or you can stay with Anthem and you would have about $3,500 increase for the annual cost, okay? Now going to the benefits, Angle's benefits are a little bit better too, compared to your current. So that's another factor you want to kind of decide as well. Right now, if you renew with Anthem, your deductible is $2,500. So what that means is if you go to the hospital, so let's say if you go to the hospital, stay overnight, or maybe you have a small surgery, you can leave the same day, you're going to work towards your deductible of $2,500. And then once you met your deductible, you're going to pay 10% of the invoices until you've met a total out-of-pocket of $4,500. And that's under your Anthem plan there, okay? Your deductible does feed into your out-of-pocket here, okay? Same idea with the emergency room. You're working towards that deductible of $2,500. You're going to pay 10% of the invoices until you've met your out-of-pocket. With the emergency room, if you're admitted, if you go to the emergency room, you do pay the deductible. There's a $350 copay, but if you are admitted to the hospital, so you're staying overnight, that copay is waived. Urgent care, you're going to have a $70 copay if you go to urgent care. If you go to a doctor because you're sick, you have a minor cold, your primary care, that's a $30 copay. Specialists such as your cardiologist, dermatologist, that's a $70 copay. You do have preventative care, so that's covered at 100% as long as the doctor is coding the service as preventative care. What I see a lot is that somebody will go in, for their annual exam, but then the doctor says, oh, we see some data here where we need to test further. At that time, that it becomes a diagnosis coding. The doctor most times will send in a coding that signifies a diagnosis instead of preventative. That's where you're going to see a charge, and you're going to receive a bill there. Okay, it doesn't hurt when you're in those scenarios to just ask the doctor, hey, what can I expect as far as the billing, or ask the billing team at your doctor's office, and they should be able to tell you. As far as your prescriptions under Anthem, for generic drugs, a simple $10 copay. Your brand name drugs are going to start off at $60 copay. Higher in drugs, the $9 copay. Your specialty drug, that's going to be Ozempic, your diabetic medications, high-end drugs, that's going to be a 20% coinsurance that you would pay, so a discounted rate. Now, under Angle, your deductible would go down from $2,500 to $2,000. Your total out-of-pocket would go from $45 to $4,000. So you would pay less in the hospital or emergency room services. You would pay 20% of the invoices until you've met your out-of-pocket, but overall, you're basically paying $500 less in a catastrophic event. So if you're in a car accident or just a major event where you're definitely going to meet that out-of-pocket, under Angle, you would pay a total of $4,000, whereas Anthem, you would pay $45 in the end. For your 6 visits, the copay goes down to $20. Specialist goes down to $50. Your urgent care would go up to $5, so $75 copay. Now your prescriptions, generic drugs, you would have a $20 copay, so that would increase. Your brand name drugs will start off at a $60 copay and go to an $85 copay. Then specialty drugs is a 20% coinsurance from there. So on the drugs, there is also a formula change. So Angle may not cover, if you're taking a certain type of, anxiety medicine, Anthem may cover it under generic drugs, and Angle may say, well, under our formulary, we may cover it under a tier 2 versus tier 1. So there are going to be some of those differences there. The best way for us to look that up, if Angle is a consideration, is for the employees to come directly to me so I can help them, just so we don't violate any HIPAA regulations. I can help them find out what to expect if moving to Angle is something you guys would like to pursue there. Okay. Okay, so what questions might y'all have? I don't know, Ned, if you can text or chat, see. Let me try to, let me open this up real quick.
Ned, are you going to type in questions?
I am.
Okay, Councilmember Ramsey.
Yes, I have a question regarding premiums. You mentioned that there's a $3,000 difference, but when I look at the calculations on the numbers presented here, there's a $13,000 annual difference in these premiums. $1,100 a month difference between the renewal with Anthem and the possibility of going with Angle.
Hope she got it.
So you know, it's not really an
Yeah,
insignificant.
you guys are right. Sorry, I was looking at it wrong. So, yes. So that you're correct. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
The annual amount.
I have another question, but this is more for city administration. I notice here that we've got 9 employees that are covered, and all of them are employee only, no spouse, no family. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Final question, well, and it's probably a 2-part question, is do we pay 100% of the premium for our employees' insurance?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm assuming that that was done in past, and maybe Councilmember Woods and Mayor Hall can chime in on this. I'm assuming that was done because of our salary levels. We may have said, we will pay this benefit because we have relatively low salaries. Is that a reasonable
That was in
assumption?
place before I was on council, but
Microphone, Chief.
It's always been like that since I've been here, that they paid for the officer and family. In 2005 or something like that, they began only paying for employees. So the employees had to find elsewhere for insurance for their family or make other arrangements because it was so expensive.
Okay,
Based on the
so,
limited amount
so-
of employees that we had.
so we're not offering employee spouse or employee family insurance?
no, we do, but what Chief is saying is it's so expensive through our carrier that most family members would find coverage under a
Okay.
different
Okay,
policy.
so that's why we have employees, only employees and no spouses.
Let's get.
I would say I don't know if I'd be comfortable saying that that's the whole reason. I think there's nuances with each. You know,
Sure.
my wife works and has her own insurance. I'm sure there's other kind of varying circumstances. Children that are over 26 and things like that.
I get it. It's just an odd thing to see no spouses or employees in any given group.
Can I just comment further? I made the same observation because this was a learning curve for me. And what I discussed with Ned and Sarah, who's on the phone, was that I was prepared to bring this as a potential policy issue to council. But I also met with employees today, and even though I didn't bring that issue up specifically, I did emphasize for them to give me any questions, comments, or concerns about our insurance policy and the potential proposal to change. And
Okay.
they're going to continue to give me feedback over the next couple of weeks until we bring it back to council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Final question is, most employers do not pay 100% of premiums. It's very common to have employee contributions to insurance. And I understand that with the low salaries we've paid in Pine Lake, it's not a bad thing to pay for this insurance. But I'm wondering, will we have the opportunity next year, administratively, perhaps not with the insurance company, but administratively, as we receive back our salary survey and adjust salaries accordingly to make them competitive, will we have the opportunity to readdress this issue?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council?
Very thorough.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And so as you continue to get feedback, city manager, when we do our regular meeting at the end of September, you'll have a recommendation
Yes.
based on budget and all the things. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 2, tennis and pickleball court. I believe this is Mr. Kendrick. Nope, psych, chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just want to give you guys a quick update on our tennis/pickleball court project. In your packets, you should find a copy of the rules. The pickleball project the pickleball project is drawing to completion. Tonight, in your package, you'll see what we presented to you guys, the proposed rules for the court. The rules are based on standard pickleball regulations and some research that we've done and feedback from residents and individuals that actually play pickleball and some folks that live by with the intent to balance fairness of the play, safety, and quality of life for our residents like we've heard expressed today. What we've done is we've addressed parking. Parking will be limited to designated areas only. We have one parking area here in Pine Lake. Also, if you look at the rules, inside the rules, we notate where parking is, and it will be similar in text to what you see. Probably a little different design, but the verbiage will basically be the same, and you'll see we'll highlight in red what is no parking at the beach. All parking must be at the beach house. We'll also notate the hours of operation. Hours of operation will be in accordance to the hours of operation of the rest of our green spaces in the city, which is from dusk to dawn. Access, the court will be opened and closed by city employees with a keyless lock. It will be opened by Public Works during the week and closed by the officers when they do their patrol to be sure that the lake and park areas are clear. Maintenance, Public Works has already established a maintenance schedule where the court can be maintained and blown off. Once the rules are approved by council, I'll go ahead and provide the final authorization for the printing and posting and have our Public Works Department install the lock. Let me look over my notes, make sure I didn't forget anything based on our public comment. So I am open to adding something under courtesy to recommend a quiet hour or the use of some softballs that don't make sounds. What else? And I just wanted to note too, the tennis court has not been operational in a very, very long time. I want to say almost since I began working here. It has not been fully operational. And unfortunately, during COVID with social distancing, the City of Pine Lake residents have developed some bad habits, which is roller skating, teaching kids how to ride bikes, all kind of everything except for tennis on that tennis court. And that's what we did during a national pandemic. So this is going to be new for everybody, and we will, I know you notice the officers do their foot patrols every morning, so we'll just incorporate this into our patrols and keep an eye out on it. There are two fire hydrants over there, so of course we will be pushing the no parking and the parking rules like that. And we always have our duty phones that the officers check at least once an hour, so you can go ahead and give them a call if the noise does get excessive, and we'll just go from there. So I'm excited. I think we got some good stuff in place. I think it's something that's been long awaited, and I'm ready to see it happen.
Thank you, Chief. Just one quick note, under safety, it says pets, bicycles, scooters, skateboards, or amplified music allowed inside the court area. I would say no. I think.
My graphics went out on me. It's supposed to be a big, like, N,
Oh,
a big
gotcha.
no for no pets,
Got it.
no children under, like that, but.
Okay, got it.
I'm not as savvy as.
Yeah, that's been one of the biggest uses I've seen since I've moved to Pine Lake, is using it as a dog run. And then the other question from our public comment, are there going to be any signs placed on the street that say no parking?
Director Kendrick and I are kind of looking at, rather than visibility on that corner can be an issue. So the last thing we want to do is put some more signs that will obstruct where people can actually see. So we're looking at drawing an orange line on that whole curb that will indicate no parking.
Okay,
Because like they said, you know, people park in that little cut area, they park right there on the curb, directly in front of the house, that's adjacent to the court, so.
great. So indications that there's no
Yes.
parking. Great, thank you. Those are my two questions.
On,
Councilman Torrent.
on Treeside, we've got a number of signs that say no parking from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we did something like that, that was right on the court so that people could see it, and the orange indicator would be a great indicator as well, but I think we need some more signs.
Okay.
And I am concerned about the parking as well, because, you know, I live on that side, and so when I drive by, I see cars parked there a lot. Sometimes the police are parked in the grassy area, and I think perhaps if the police stop parking there, then other people would stop thinking that it's okay to park there as well.
Touche.
Also, you said that there's a service phone. Can we make sure that Christina and Skylar have that number? Not so they can, you know, stay on the phone calling them every time, but, you know, if they just send a text that requests a drive-by,
That's fine.
a drive around, just to have somebody come by and check, because cars do park there, and it does get dangerous because they'll park all the way around it.
Exactly.
And people have said that they've been told by the police to park around on the corners. So just if we can get that.
This is my response to that. But like I said, it's gonna be new. Of course, we're gonna have people who are gonna roll up and wanna park right there. And to me, the biggest thing is that once we get all this approved, is to make sure we blast it to the community, because these are not strangers coming to Pine Lake and parking right there. These are residents that wanna park right there because I live right here and just access the tennis court or the dog run or the skate park or whatever it is at that moment. So it's gonna be important for us to make sure we put it out to the community to let them know, you know, I can't park there and you guys can't park there. Parking is over at the designated parking area, so.
In my experience, I've seen not residents really parking there, but people that come and visit and then leave. Maybe people from outside of the town do come and park there. So we do need to alert all of our residents not to park there, but, you know, signs would be very helpful as well. And so you said the gate would be locked at dusk and opened up again in the morning?
Correct.
That's great, because I think that was another big concern, is that it would just be open.
Yeah. And we don't want it to become an attractive nuisance, you know, hangout spot.
And I really like the suggestion of adding, you know, at the very top, be respectful. People live nearby, and I'm glad that you recognize that as well. I think those were my concerns.
Perfect.
And it'll take a little extra attention while we work our way through now having a tennis/pickleball court in the city, so.
Yes.
What about the possibility of maybe putting a bicycle rack in the grass on the north side of the tennis court, between the court and where the swing is, so residents who want to go directly to the court might be able to ride their bike and just
I think that's
leave it there.
I think that's actually a great great idea because I really don't feel like it's getting much use in front of the clubhouse. But I think that it would get a lot, I think that would even encourage our residents to go ahead and just park right there, you know, just bike up and park right there.
Great.
Thank you. All right, any other questions for Chief?
Do we want to see if Councilmember Goldberg has any
Oh, yeah, thank you.
anything to add?
The phone is so, Right over there.
Councilmember Goldberg, can you hear us? Have you heard discussion?
I have, and have nothing else to add.
thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thanks, Chief. All right, moving on to item number 3, the comprehensive cost-benefit impact study of a proposed property tax relief program from the Carl Vinson Institute of Government. City Manager.
Mayor, I think this is largely a opportunity for council members to respond to the proposal. You know, a couple months ago, we didn't do a formal request for proposal, but I do consider that it was a formal procurement proceeding. Nonetheless, we identified Carl Vinson Institute as a governmental entity and previous partner on a number of projects with the city. And we prepared a formalized request for proposal for them to respond to, and it took several weeks, of course, to get it back. And we now have it. I think it meets the requirements as we listed in the proposal, and perhaps the biggest issue for the council to discuss is the timetable and cost itself, and if or how you want to proceed.
Great, thank you. So I know this is a project that we've had before us. Thank you for getting this quote from Carl Vincent. I think we were all kind of alarmed at when we were originally talking about this initiative, we were estimating probably $50,000 to get a study, do the lobbying, get it through a legislative process. But this proposal in and of itself is about $50,000. And I think it's comprehensive in nature. I think if we're legislatively binding the city to a tax program in perpetuity, then it's on council and the elected body to make sure that we do our most complete due diligence to understand the impact as the, demographics and all of the key factors come into play. Not just now, but this is something that we're looking at the impact, not short-term impact, but long-range impact. How is this going to affect the viability of the city 10, 20, 30 years from now? As if we're investing this much money to get a program off the ground, we want to be certain that it is financially viable, right? I know, City Manager, you've given your strong opinion on the matter in our last discussion. I know that Councilmember Woods had some questions and thoughts. You had reached out earlier, so I want to turn it over to you to.
Yes, well, I did have some questions because I know we were looking at doing a tax break, but one of the questions I had was, is this going to be a millage freeze for these people, for the seniors also on this, or is it just a tax?
Is your question to me?
Yeah, was this going to have a millage rate freeze also?
I mean, in terms of the proposal that Councilmember Ramsey.
Yeah.
I think we wouldn't know that. We wouldn't know what the program is recommending until we do a study. I think that's one of the things that City Manager, is that accurate, that they would kind of lay out scenarios, as I understand the response?
So I think the way that we have to look at this is a proposal that started with a Councilmember Ramsey, and I think his proposal was fairly specific. And so any questions regarding his proposal, I think it's only fair that he would be asked the question. To the mayor's point, and part of what I think at this point needs to be factored in is if you elected to go with Carl Vinson Institute, they've outlined that it would take them 6 months to do the modeling. And so we need to be thinking more broadly on what type of program the then council would be seeking. I don't think it would be a given that the specific proposal that Councilmember Ramsey started would be what a future governing body might choose. And in that scenario, I think there are any of a number of scenarios that would need to be looked at. To give an example, while this started as a senior tax relief proposal, I know there's been some sentiment expressed, including at public meetings, should this be more of a socioeconomic relief program for others who may be in a similar economic circumstance. So that would be something that would be modeled in a study such as proposed.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Yeah, Councilmember Torrent.
Oh, I was, you have more?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
sorry.
Yeah. So then all of the things that, once they do this, it would include looking at studies on the fact that we have the enterprise zone and how that would factor into being prepared for taxes, replacing taxes that are being lost through this, and they would look at those situations.
Yes, I think every conceivable variable would be considered, and I know enterprise zones is something that the city has participated in, and then it went through an issue of the federal government was time limited, but then I think since then it has been extended. Another example, and this is going to be a discussion that we could start today. I'm not planning to give a presentation on the strategic performance report, but as the mayor had introduced, the two of us went to an economic development downtown conference, and we're prepared to start to share some of that information, and that's part of my presentation in this month's report. An example, a tool, Downtown Development Authority. If you presuppose and the council decided that they wanted to go in that direction, that would present a variable of tax increment funding for whatever the district is. And in effect, that would have some impact on the city's property tax base because it would freeze at a point in time that authority was put back in place. So we would no longer receive any increments until a finite period in the future. So yes, those would be the type of variables that would also be considered.
Okay. And then also with the cost from Carl Vinson Institute, and we looked at possible other sources of doing the study also at different rates. Would that be something that would be factored in? Because we'd have to look at more than one or two places to do this rather than just Carl Vinson Institute.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to what Councilmember Ramsey, I think, addressed in a communication to the city council on potentially looking at a scenario that I would describe it as not as comprehensive. But one of the reasons why I introduced in my introductory comments that I consider this to be a formal process that we've gone through. In fact, I think it's a question I don't want to answer for the city attorney because I've not asked him the question, but you'll recall, I think at your last meeting, you rejected a formal process that we had gone through. In my mind, I would ask the council if you weren't planning to proceed with the Carl Vinson proposal, that it should be rejected by official action, but that we should continue on the course of a formal procurement process, perhaps a request for proposal.
Okay. Councilmember Torrent, did you have more? Councilmember Woods?
Okay, just want to make sure. So, in case anybody is wondering, the number that came back from Carl Vinson was $42,759, I believe, something very close to that, which is, that's just a non-starter. And for 6 months is a really long time. However, Carl Vinson is not the only certified and qualified think tank that can make policy and tax recommendations to municipalities. Another is the Andrew Young School. They have a fiscal research center, and I think Councilmember Ramsey was suggesting that we ask them if they could put together a similar quote, but with a more modified scope of work. Is that correct?
I didn't necessarily consider that we needed to modify the scope of work. What I was suggesting was that if you look at the notes that the city manager has supplied here, the response from Carl Vincent is the proposal would have us create a model and develop a financial model, create a model to project the financial implications 5, 10, 20 years out, as the mayor said. The information that I forwarded to city manager and council was a 2020 publication from Andrew Young at Georgia State University, Andrew Young School at Georgia State University. They have a model. They have a calculator where you can plug in a number of variables. I'm not sure it extends out 20 years, but I think they have much of the work already done in terms of creating the model. And I don't know for sure, but it's worth talking to them. It might be fairly plug and play for them to load the Pine Lake tax base, if you will, in and do the calculations we're looking for. But we don't know that until we talk to them.
The question, do you have an idea what the cost would be?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
So it sounds like for the purpose of this discussion, first, Councilmember Goldberg, do you have anything you'd like to add to the discussion?
My concern is this information from the Vinson Institute just involves the cost of the study. It also it will bring to us information about the cost to actually implement, if we choose to, this tax proposal, tax relief proposal, which involves lobbying, I believe, and changing the legislature relationships to deal with that. So there's additional costs way beyond just the scope of the study proposals.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. So for the purpose of this discussion, we're looking at the proposal in front of us, right? The Carl Vinson Institute proposal. It sounds like there's consensus that this is
Too expensive.
too expensive.
Too expensive,
So
yeah.
in terms of how that impacts the agenda for the regular meeting, do we need to formally vote on it, or can this be considered a rejection of the proposal? That's one question I have.
If I understood the city manager's request, Madam Mayor, the resolution that would be presented would be a formal rejection of this proposal as an option. And possibly if we get additional direction, the resolution would include either direction to the administration to do a formal RFQ to various vendors, including Georgia State, maybe CVI. If they were competing against each other, the numbers may be different, who knows? But the RFQ would go out to the consulting community and offer, potentially get different numbers than what we currently have just from CVI.
Great.
So, but I would need more concrete direction than what I've heard so far to know that that's exactly what you're asking for in the resolution before we got to that place.
Okay, thank you.
Was there a resolution directing the city manager to get this done? I don't believe there was. I think it came out of the result of the last work session. So I'm not sure we need a resolution to undo something that was never a resolution.
No, that's missing the point. And I'm honestly drawing a blank on if you approve the resolution. What I'm referring to is we proceeded with the formal procurement process.
Yeah, in the work
That I would agree with.
session, we discussed it and council agreed we can't move any further with this initiative unless we have some sort of understanding of what the impact would be. Yeah.
And then I prepared, and I remember I shared it with the council, but you may not have actually approved the going out for the request for proposal.
Okay.
If I can just round that out a little bit to try to address Councilmember Ramsey's concern. The administration's direction, as I understood it, and again, I'm not looking at the minutes, and this is from my recollection, was that there was direction from council to go to Vincent and ask for what the cost would be to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That initiates the formal procurement process to then say, no, that this isn't going to be a proposal that we are going to accept, and we want you to go back to the marketplace with an RFQ. That's the resolution that the administration and I are recommending to the council
Okay.
that you undertake, as opposed to undoing something. What we're undoing is the direction, it was the direction from the body to go to the marketplace and go directly to Vincent as a single source vendor.
Mhm. And so if that's the case, so there's kind of unanimous lack of support for this proposal, I guess I would say, in cost. My question to council then is if we're initiating, if there's a directive to initiate a formal proposal process in a time when we're, moving into our budget cycle, we're about to get an impact study for all of our salaries, because we're way under market across the board with our staff. We all know that a city cannot run without a staff. My question is this a strategic priority at this time to put effort? The city manager's time is limited, the administration's time is limited, to put effort into a formal procurement, a formal proposal process to save a couple of $100s to a handful of residents, potentially, when we're scrapping for pennies to try to figure out how to pay for city operations. That's a question I'm putting forward.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I think we have too many other irons in the fire right now.
Yeah.
I just think it would be too costly for the city. We have so many other things, and I think we've not been listening to our city manager and the fact that we have loyal employees, but we also have to look at making sure that we can keep our loyal employees, because if we have to replace them, it's gonna cost a lot more than what we're probably having to pay right now. I just think that
Right.
if we could keep our staff, we can keep our city. If we start losing staff, that's gonna be another issue.
And it's not to single out that specific issue. My point
But there's
is
other
that there's
issues,
a,
yeah.
a huge plate of strategic priorities that the council has laid out over, the last 2 years, including an economic development study. How do we expand our tax base? What are the programs that we need to do, on Rockbridge Road? What are those gonna cost so that we can alleviate taxes? I know taxes are a major issue for all of our residents, not a handful of residents. I know that there are programs available. This council has discussed potentially doing some sort of education programs around senior tax relief that's not yet being taken advantage of by many of our residents. There are programs that have become available through the One Big Beautiful Something bill. So my question is, before we move forward, if there's a rejection of this, are we asking for a proposal process? Or do we want to table it and revisit it when we're laying out our next round of strategic priorities?
I think the RFQ process sounds like a lot of work and would be expensive for our administration to do.
Yeah.
But I think Councilmember Ramsey and I, could we talk to the Andrew Young Fiscal Research Center just to see? I tried using the calculator and it was a little difficult, and I somewhat speak the language, like trying to the delta, the change of over time. It was. I did not understand all of the workings of it, even though they let it out. So if we had someone to walk through it with us, or if we could get some help from them, and then come back and report, would that be acceptable to everyone?
I don't know that accomplishes what we're looking for, because I think really in order to make an informed decision about any sort of tax relief program for any body of residents, we really need to understand the impact, like the scope of work that the city manager laid out for the Carl Vinson Institute, looking at what are some of the other programs, what are the reliefs, what are the different scenarios, if we were to do any sort of enterprise zone or rural opportunity zone credit program on Rockbridge versus if we don't, and what's that impact going to look like over 10, 20, 30 years. I just don't, I think it's comparing apples and oranges. I think if we were going to go through a proposal process, let me finish. If we were going to go through a proposal process, I think we need to do a formal proposal process. And it needs to be a comparable scope of work. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I feel it's kind of.
I don't disagree with that. I think it does need a comparable scope of work. I think we felt it was important enough as a council to move forward and ask Carl Vinson to do it. I think it behooves us to take that scope of work somewhere else and see what kind of result we get. I understand your distaste for this process. You've made that very clear.
I wouldn't qualify it as distaste, but thank you.
I understand that we have a lot of things on our plate. Educating our residents on tax relief that's available from the county. We know from the studies that were already done by the city, which Mr. Lamont brought back to us, that there are already close to 100 residents receiving senior tax relief from the county. Not all of them would qualify under the proposal that I made, but that is a very high percentage of our senior population. I don't think there are many seniors in Pine Lake who don't know what the county offers in terms of tax relief.
Any other?
So I would encourage us to put this request for proposal out.
Councilmember Grillberg, do you have any comments as we're discussing?
I would be curious to see what other options there are. I'm also conscious, though, how much time we may want to devote to something like this in terms of the city manager doing this. I would be curious what information we could at least gather with the informal conversation with the young school, and then make a decision once we have more data in terms of what they may or may not be able to do.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Couple postscript comments. Let me first admit that the request for proposal from Carl Vinson Institute wasn't anything that I created. I borrowed from what is out there. Certainly isn't the first time that a senior tax relief or a property tax relief program has been proposed. It's universally done. So I did copy from a best practices model, and we have gotten a proposal back from an agency that we had some confidence to go to in the first place, but I also want to clarify that even though the language in the proposal could be interpreted that Carl Vinson Institute would be creating, this is a business that they've done many models of. They do have a model, they made that clear to me. And going back out, if that's the council's direction, and I think with the counter proposal that has been put forth, or what I would describe, do we go out and just open it up, or do we go to, for instance, the proposed Georgia State University? I think that's part of the direction that would need to be given to the city attorney in drafting the resolution. How open do you want to go, if you want to go at all? I certainly would not propose that any of you would take it upon yourself to reach out. You've got a professional administration, a procurement process has been started. It needs to be treated with kid gloves, apples to apples comparison. So we've got a benchmark proposal that we've gotten one proposer to respond to. So whether we open it up fully or we limit it to going to Georgia State University, in effect, I think we should put the same proposal out there to one or more.
Agreed.
My request when I sent the Georgia State information to council was that we get a second opinion. Okay? And the publication from Georgia State was specific to Georgia cities that they used for their model. I don't doubt that Carl Vinson Institute has something similar. But I think it's worth getting another price.
So in terms of process, we initiate that next procurement by vote, the procurement process by vote at the next meeting?
If I understood the administration correctly, Mayor, what we need to do is formally reject, he's asking for a formal rejection so he can communicate that to CVI of this proposal, and then re-let the contract or let the opportunity through a RFQ process with similar scope, perhaps with more information about what our ability or what the budget for the project is, to give the consulting community idea of where we wish this to come in. I don't know if that's in the administration's mind or not. He and I have not discussed it, but those are the kinds of details that I think a future action item for the council would include. Is both the step one of rejecting CVI's $42,000 proposal, step two, authorizing the RFQ, and the terms and conditions that the council wants to see go forward.
Okay. Great, thank you.
And then in that case, if the council was inclined to put some bookends on costs, then I would say you should also consider providing for a budget for this, because there's zero budgeted at this point.
Yeah.
So that could be something that we could also incorporate into an action meeting for you to set a budget.
In my mind, what's more important than setting the budget, because this hasn't been identified as a priority by budget for the last 2 years, and it came in mid-cycle. What's more important, in my opinion, and I would love y'all's opinion, is that whatever the proposal is that goes out, the RFP that goes out, that it's comprehensive enough in nature that we have a really clear understanding with multiple models over many, many years of what the impact of this is going to be and what's that going to cost, rather than saying, hey, we have $5,000, what can you do? I think it's, you know, we're beholden to the future of the city to make sure that the impact is fully understood.
If you're going to be doing that and incorporating the potential impacts of a downtown development authority, maybe an enterprise zone, that's a big undertaking for the city, which I'm sure I know it's been the highest priority on our list for the last 2 years, although we've not gotten to it. Perhaps the budget for that could include this.
Perhaps. And this is something we could discuss at our retreat when we're talking about economic development.
That's what I was going to suggest. We
Yeah.
table it for the
Yeah,
retreat, because it's going to take our workers, our admin, our professionally paid admin time and money to do, just to get to a point where we have 3 people offering to do this.
And a resolution.
And even then, it's going to cost money no matter what it is. It may not be $45,000, even if it's only $20,000 to do this. And then we have to weigh that in with the money we've put into it, and then what could we get out of it. So I think we should talk
Table
about
it.
it
Okay.
at the retreat.
So at the next meeting, we will, do we need to put this on the agenda for the next meeting to formally reject it, or is this considered a rejection of the?
Well, you do have a retreat session coming before we get to
Okay,
our next meeting, so I think that will help the discussion as well.
okay, great, thank you.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
From the approach to the state legislators to change our charter, what did that cost us in terms of lobbying? Can you answer that?
Most of the lobbying that we did in that process was the former mayor in meetings with our state representative Viola Davis and Senator Kim Jackson.
I mean, we all know those same people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great. Public comment, 3 minutes. Thank you. Yeah, three minutes. State your name and your.
All right, Jean Vigotsky at 465 North Dahlia Drive. 2 things. One, well, maybe more. The dawn to dusk. You know, that changes every day. Dusk is not a certain time. It changes. And so when you have something that fuzzy for the public to come and leave it, I mean, I look at the clock and the moon and all of that, but most people have no idea what time dusk is. And so I think that a specific time, even during daylight saving time, it's going to change, or different season. I think that Pine Lake needs a time, like leave here at 6 o'clock or whatever. Because I've driven down to the park at night, late, after dusk, and there's still people out there standing around. The cars are parked, like 10 cars one night. No police, nobody monitoring this after dusk group with people standing around and talking. Like, to me, that's really, it's bothersome. All right, so then the Carl Benson thing, I definitely think is a waste of money. And I was just thinking, what a wonderful dissertation subject for somebody at Georgia State. I mean, we could really propose. And Wanda Cooley, that's her name, right? Not Wanda Cooley. She was in the policy school for years and knows people. And I think she could sell that idea. And that whoever, I've done a dissertation, you get a lot of people taking care of what you're doing and monitoring it and judging it and everything. That would be one way that we could possibly get a free analysis, and it would, it'd help the student out too. And if that's not a good idea, like some of the people in Pine Lake are intelligent enough, I think, to sit down with whatever information you're going to give Carl Benson and do like artificial intelligence searches and things like that. I mean, have you ever done that? AI? You can get a lot of information. That's probably where Carl Benson is going to get it too. So that's just another idea that, I mean, I know a few people who would like to be on a committee, maybe give us a couple of months to come up with something before you go out and spend 50,000 or 40?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
Any other public comment?
Calvin Burgamy, 4568 Alabama. I would like to go on record, I'm 100% for tax relief for seniors in any way that we can come about it. I know that's a lot to it, but I wanted to just address a couple other things. One is about I think it's coming up with a strategic plan about the economy on Rockbridge Road, et cetera, which I think is probably, to my opinion, one of the most important things as far as our financial survival as a city. So anything we can expedite that sort of thing to get more businesses up on Rockbridge Road. And the third thing, it was just kind of a question, is with the news blast that came out, there was a mention of engineering firm AECOM, whatever. They seem like, just doing a quick search, they're a pretty big firm. And I was wondering, is there any information at the city that I could get about what we've done to procure and what their services are and et cetera? We can do that? Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Candidate Lauer.
Jane Lowers, 4614 Orchid Drive. Regarding the group health, this is probably something I could learn from the city archive, but the only way to mitigate the very small risk pool that the city has is to enlarge the size of the insured population. I'm wondering if there's any possibility of small municipalities in DeKalb or around Georgia pooling their insurance risk pools into a larger group plan to lower those overall costs.
Like a
the city
MIWA.
has considered it maybe in the future.
Great, thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to report and other business. Our strategic performance report. City Manager.
You have this information that's been shared with the community. I don't think we've got any particular presentation that we want to make this evening, except I think the police chief wants to share a video, Chief? Quick video.
You saw how well it went earlier.
Well, just like the city manager said, you guys have all the information from all the departments, but we did this weekend a fun run. Don't look too hard at me, but we did Unity Walk, and it was really, really great, and playing was just so freaking awesome. They came out, I just asked for water, they brought donuts. And some other things, and that's our newest officer. He's also a trainer, so he noticed a lot of people walking out by the lake and stuff. So he's like, "Hey, this is a way to meet the people where they are." And we don't worry about it. We're gonna let you guys know so you can be on the next walk. But we walked and we talked, and it was great. And this is the video that Gaskin. She's one of our the female officers you see on the weekends. She does like a lot of media and stuff, so this is the video that she prepared for us for the best.
Sweet. Thank you.
Alright guys, it's Jamie Hayes here, Officer Hayes here, also known as Jamie the Motivator. Today we're teaming up with Pine Lakes OWN. I'm here today with Chief Green. We came together with a vision, wanted to bring the community and fitness together, so we're gonna do something big. This is the first official day, so we're super excited. We got a big turnout, bigger turnout than we thought, so we have everything here. Chief Green?
Well, like Jamie said, Officer Hayes said, we like to do at least 3 community engagements each year. And this year, since we have Jamie on our team, the motivator, we decided, hey, let's reach out to the community. Everybody's health conscious, and it would be just a great idea to collaborate with the community, and they absolutely love it. So we're gonna be out here. This is our first Unity Walk with the community. Hopefully it'll just morph into just many more walks. So we encourage you guys to come out and hang out with us and walk and talk.
Stand down. And 5, 4, 3, 2, Tootsie Roll. Tootsie Roll. I want the Tootsie to roll. I want a full Tootsie Roll. Get into it. You gotta get into it. Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Down. 1, down. 2, down. 3, down. 4, down. 5, down. 6, down. 7, down. 8, down. 9, down. 10, down.
Yeah, we walking, we talking, we got Pine Lakes Finest right here, connecting the communities to the cops. You know what I'm saying? The first thing is safety is your health. Make sure your body is right so you can take care of the people that you love. Yes, sir. Take care of the people around you. So what we're doing is doing a walk, we're sending awareness around, showing the beautiful city of Pine Lake. Yes, sir. So next time you guys, we have this, I want to see you guys out there. It don't even matter if you're in Pine Lake, but if you're here in Atlanta, come rock with us. Oh, people want to know.
Look at him go.
Nice. Thank you, Chief. All right, reports or mayor comments. I don't have anything to.
Can I ask a question of Mr. Kendricks on his piece of the strategic performance report?
Sure.
Hello
Yes.
there.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you about the firehouse renovation project. I'm looking at the picture here, which shows me the food pantry and the other room, and I'm looking, I've got the window on my right as I walk in, and I have a back wall there that's solid. That back wall is where the doors to the firehouse are, correct?
No.
When you walk in the door and you look to your right, okay, you've got a blank wall there at the end, and behind that that solid wall is the outer doors to the old firehouse.
Not when you walk into that pantry room, no. That's a little, you remember I showed you the little small area that.
Yeah, that's to the left. No, not the pantry room. When you
walk in and you go to the right, and then you have that wall, right?
When you walk in the door, if you look to the right,
yes,
at the far end is a solid wall.
Correct.
Okay? Same thing for the next room over. It's a solid wall.
Correct.
Okay? On the outside of the building, that behind those solid walls is where the outer doors of the old firehouse are. The double doors that open, where you've got the little storage unit for the chief.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In looking at are you going to be redoing those doors?
Yes.
As a finished part of the project?
Yes, sir. They're kind of working on them now. Yes.
Okay, that was question number one. Question number two was the two windows on the side of the building that have half the windows covered with boards that we're painting over.
Yes.
What's with that? Why is half that window covered with a board? It's on both sides of the building, whether you're on the south side or the north side of the building. you've got windows there that are half covered with boards.
Well, it's kind of like, the thinking that went into it was kind of like a security type of thing. We didn't want to have the full window there to have an opportunity for people to go through. So we, kind of just left it incorporated with that board there. Didn't want to put bars or anything like that either. What was you have a suggestion?
I think between the clubhouse renovation and the firehouse renovation, we're spending a lot of money, and it just looks plain ugly.
Okay, we'll take a look at it. Okay.
I'm hoping there's an alternative.
It could be, yes, sir.
Thanks.
Mr. Kendrick. I'm sorry, before you go.
Yes, sir.
I've gotten a lot of questions about the bench swings, the one that was on the berm, and then the one that's in the western wetland.
The western
where the swing was.
Eastern west.
Eastern wetland.
Yes.
Right on Spruce?
Where there was a swing bench and there is no longer one.
Yeah, it's like three benches, one in the eastern, one right by Spruce, and the other one right behind the tennis court. Yes.
Yes. Are we going to replace the ones that have been taken down?
Well, yes, we still have it at the shop, but we had ran into, it was a rot issue, and, things just kept going, and we didn't get back to it, but we do have some pressure-treated wood that we're going to replace that with, yes, sir.
Great, thank you. That's, I'm sure people will be happy to hear it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, council comment. Any comments? All right.
No.
Information for the news blast.
Let me see if Jeff has anything. Councilmember Goldberg, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Do you have anything for
News
comments,
blast or
news
comments?
blast?
I have one sort of question, which I've been hearing of a number of issues with chickens being left in certain places around town.
Chickens.
And I believe they were chickens with their heads cut off. And at least I think in 2 different locations I've heard about. So I'm curious about that.
Don't foxes behead chickens?
Yeah, but
It's not a fox? Oh.
Their feet were tied.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, never mind. Very dexterous fox.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was that for the chief?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, as far as the, we are aware of it. Actually, there were we received a report of 2 decapitated chickens, and later on we found what looked like a plate or a platter with their entrails on it. I've reached out to some local communities to see if they've had any issues similar to that. I don't want to jump to any assumptions, but it sounds a lot just based on the location, the fact that we're close to water, the fact that there was a full moon, and we have multifaceted of individuals and belief systems in our area around us. It would lend itself to saying that it was some type of ritualistic type of situation, but we don't have any body or no one's seen anything, so we're just kind of keeping our eyes open and reaching out to some of our partners to see if they're noticing any of these type of occurrences. But all of the carcasses have been disposed of.
Thank you.
Is this an issue where the chickens have been stolen and killed, or are they chickens?
No, just chickens showed up. But we've had situations like that in the past, unfortunately, where we've found beheaded chickens in the city before. So not like it's normal, but we've looked into it to where we understand that type of engagement is closely related to, you know, a lot of different rituals. So we're just keeping our eyes open right now for now.
Great. Okay. Anything for the news blast? Is it possible to link the video, since it's a digital news blast of your walk? We can upload it to our YouTube channel.
I've tried my best.
Okay.
And I know it's too late to probably get it in the next news blast, but Pride Lake is this Saturday, so I hope to see many, many of you there.
Yes. Great. Thank you. Okay.
Tomorrow night is the virtual candidates forum
Right.
Yes, DeKalb County.
for the DeKalb County Democratic Party is hosting a virtual candidates forum.
Great.
Can I recommend that everyone check their video? When I did it 2 years ago, I've got an older computer and it was lagging, and it drove me crazy. So candidates, check your equipment before you start.
I did have a question. I did try to post that in both of the Facebook groups, and it has not been approved for whatever reasons. I have no idea. And I was curious if we wanted to send out a special news blast just announcing the candidate forum for our residents.
Yeah. Can
That's
you
probably
include-
not
yeah.
a bad idea.
Yeah.
Stephanie Kohler was able to post it on Facebook.
Great. Okay. Is there a motion to? oh, do you-
What time, I'm sorry, is that candidate forum? 6 o'clock.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into executive session for the discussion of personnel and potential pending litigation. So, is that what, or legal matter? Is that potential?
Just making sure you said both of them there.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, I was making sure I said it right. Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn or to move into executive session? We'll come back into public meeting just to adjourn, so you're not going to miss anything if you go home.
I motion we move into executive session.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Great.